Hello and welcome back, everybody, to game number 2 of week 1, day 2 for the LCS Academy. Once again, I'm Kenny Guess, he's Crumbs, and we got another match ahead of us with FlyQuest Academy versus Dignitas Academy. FlyQuest did pick up a win yesterday. Dignitas kind of threw theirs a little bit. They had an insane lead up against Team Liquid, and they just could not clutch it out. So, Crumbs, let's talk about these teams. I want to start with Dignitas Academy first, because they're one of the... every year we see these Academy teams come in with the majority of the players being essentially LCS veterans, people that have been around in the scene for a while. And this year is actually interesting because we don't have a lot of that. Dignitas Academy really is the last Academy team that is the majority players being returning veterans, most of which have had LCS stage time. So what's your take of this team so far? What should our expectations be going into this game?
It should be a very good team in Academy, yet there are going to be areas where they struggle to close out the game when it comes to macro. A lot of the players that you see here have had individual moments in their careers, whether it's Acadian, Lorelo, Yasui, even someone like JJ. But when it comes to being that voice that puts every member on the same page, that's something that you can expect these players to struggle with, because usually they were paired with more veteran voices when they played. And that's why you can see a move like what they did yesterday, where you get a Baron and then you dive and lose the game off of that, with the Baron still remaining. So the Dignitas Baron spirit is still alive and well in that roster. And that's another thing that you can kind of expect to see. No matter who you find on Dignitas, the Baron is always going to be there.
Yeah, what I see when I look at this roster is just 4 relatively known quantities, right? Lorelo, Acadian, Yasui, JJ. We've seen these 4 for a very long time, whether it's LCS or Yasui. He had some stint on LCS and Echo Fox, but mostly in the Academy scene with Echo Fox and then Team Liquid. But the big name that I'm looking at is Spawn. This is the newer player on this team, was drafted from Scouting Grounds, Honda Scouting Grounds, earlier on in November. And Dignitas picking him up for their Academy roster. This is what every team should be doing, of course, trying to invest in future talent. But I think Spawn in particular is one of these AD carries that has a lot of potential to grow. He was originally drafted by Team Liquid Academy, and I was surprised that they actually didn't decide to keep him, because I thought that he's somebody that you would want to build around for Academy, or maybe not build around, but build into for Academy. But Dignitas Academy feeling great picking him up. So eyes are going to be on him. How can he develop throughout the split? How can he show that, yeah, you got 4 essentially veterans around you on your team, but you can still show up and make a name for yourself? Sometimes it can be really hard to do that, but in the AD carry position, there's expectations. You got to show up and you got to perform. But now over to the side of FlyQuest. Let's talk about this team, because, again, there's some returning names, but also some really exciting new ones.
And those new ones to me are NXI. NXI was the #1 draft, if I'm not mistaken, for Scouting Grounds 2020, and he was just a pop-off jungler, hard carry. Was able to play Lee Sin to a win, had a 700 gold bounty yesterday alongside his carry and Aphelios. So really impressive out of him. He was a really standout jungler, looked cut above everybody else. And so NXI to me is the guy to think, hey, this guy is going to be a pop-off jungler. Actually, was he on 100 Next, if I'm not mistaken?
He was on 100 Next.
Yeah,
he replaced Kenvi. Because that was the big storyline, is that Kenvi was this insane jungler in the amateur series with 100X, and then he gets raised up to Academy, and everyone was thinking, okay, 100 Next are done. They've lost their best players. Academy's poached them, essentially, and now 100 Thieves Next are going to really struggle in amateur. But NXI comes in and just continues dominating in the jungle. He didn't have quite the same highs as Kenvi, but he had this insanely aggressive playstyle. I had the saying that NXI with a tank in front of him is just unstoppable, because this player is just so mechanically good at navigating fights. And we saw a little bit of that yesterday. Just a peek. He ended with an insane stat line, but it took him a long time to ramp up to that moment. Playing Lee Sin for the late game is not what you typically expect to see from a jungler, but hey, they made it work and they got the W. And he's got a lot of veteran players around him. You know, Kumo, Triple, who's returning from, he played in Oceania on the old Mammoth roster, and now here returning to FlyQuest along with Diamond. So a lot of players around him that can help him grow, help him turn into an even better jungler. And
that one player that I really am looking out for is Tomo. So if you remember last split, Tomo won with Cloud9, the Academy League, and he was actually not meant to be the starter. He was only there because King could not play through visa issues, but then the OPL dissolves, you've got all their imports coming over, so now King can go back to Cloud9 and Tomo returns, but Tomo was a stud on him. It really was not a big difference between him and King, who looked to be an incredible AD when he was able to play for Cloud9. Tomo, not only can he play these late game marksmen in the bottom lane like we saw with the Felios yesterday, he's got a lot of mages under his belt as well. He's kind of that perk style when way back in the bot lane you could bust out mages like Cassiopeia, like Syndra or Zoe. He has that under his belt. And so seeing the Cloud9 team go with the Janna, with the Seraphine, I think that this is something that the FlyQuest team can try to play into Tomo's wheelhouse and get advantages in the bottom lane that way.
It's Tomo has an interesting journey because he's kind of similar to another player that we see this split, Fizzy, coming from Harrisburg University, thrown in as a sub, popped off last year with Cloud9 Academy, and now he's on FlyQuest Academy proper, and has a lot of faith in him from the team. Because if you look at yesterday and you actually analyze what they did in the early game to mid game, they were essentially just funneling gold onto Tomo's Aphelios. They let him roam mid, rotate back down bot, rotate back mid, rotate bot, and just catch these waves in XP while all these ganks and crazy things were happening topside. And the action, the camera was up there. We were looking at the action topside, but then you just track what Tomo was doing, and he was just casually getting 40 CS up over his lane opponent and just farming like a monster into the late game, and then was able to perform in the late game as well, was able to actually show up with that gold lead and provide that DPS that they desperately needed with that team composition. So I think that this is going to be another really interesting matchup. It's a couple exciting, newer, fresher faces from FlyQuest Academy versus Dignitas Academy, which, you know, a lot of people would look at this roster and just expect them to win out because of their experience.
I think the one area that you kind of want to see how old versus new play out, at least for me, is in the jungle. Because Acadian has been around for a long time, and Acadian will trash Academy junglers that are not good. We definitely know that. So how good is NXI? Can he keep up with Acadian? Can he body Acadian? How does this matchup play out? Because we see the Graves versus Kindred matchup. There's a lot of plays that you can make in the jungle right now. Most players claim that the jungle is the most broken role, so let's see who can make it look OP.
Yeah, and we're ready to get into Champ Select right now, and I'm happy you highlighted all the junglers that are available and just incredibly meta. We saw Graves first pick last time. We've seen Olaf pretty much permabanned from the red side. Things like Lilia, Nidalee, all these top-tier junglers coming through, and this is the perfect meta here for a player like NXI to actually pop off on. So we're going to pick and ban. We'll see what they end up actually drafting for themselves. It is Dignitas Academy on blue side, FlyQuest Academy on red side. And to catch us up on the quick bans, there we go. The Aphelios ban against Tomo. Dignitas Academy does not want to deal with that one.
Yeah, surprising to see that banned right now. But hey, if you think that he's going to continue to play that, go for it. It's just a matter of Tomo being a very flexible player. So this pick isn't particularly the problem. It's more you're dealing with a good player. But it could also be that Dignitas is going for a different kind of composition already, because by banning away the Aphelios, you're kind of saying we don't want to play poke. With poke being the way to beat this champion, right from a range, we want to play hard dive, we want to get melee champions and fight this way. So it could very well be a composition that Dignitas has in mind, that they want to make sure that FlyQuest does not get picks that could potentially be an answer to it.
Well, if we're looking at the priority top picks right now, first picks for blue side, there's still a couple big ones on the table. They could go for the Camille right away. The Nidalee we've seen a lot as well, so no surprise to see that hovered, and it is locked in for Acadian. So what will NXI want to answer into that? The Nidalee has just really risen in popularity with a lot of these poke-style builds like you were talking about. Has that range, but also just incredible clear speed and provides that AP, which sometimes teams are missing.
She's good for sure, but Talia cannot be forgotten. This champion, I think, has risen past Nidalee. She's just a little bit harder to play. I think there's a lot of players that might not be as familiar or comfortable with this pick or don't want to go through those synergies. And right away, Kangas, I think Renekton has to be the pick that both these teams are looking at. I'm surprised that FlyQuest prioritized the Kai'Sa over it, since maybe they thought Dignitas would also receive it, but the combo of Renekton Nidalee or Renekton Talia will obliterate whichever top laner has to deal with that right now, and I want to see if either of these teams want to race towards it.
Yeah, the blind pick Renekton, it's great with these jungle combos, but still has a potential to maybe be punished here. And I've seen some crazy combo. Last night, actually, or yesterday rather, FlyQuest pulled off this incredible play with, or no, it wasn't FlyQuest, but there was a Talia Gnar combo, which I had actually never even seen before, where the Gnar ults into the wall. So I think that Gnar could be big here. Okay, there we go. And Dignitas decided to pick up that instead. Because I was going to say, if the Renekton is locked in for Dignitas Academy, FlyQuest Academy can just go into the Gnar, still have a fine lane phase and some great combos. But no, Dignitas actually opted for that one instead.
FlyQuest can lock in Renekton, camp top, and win the game right now. Yeah, they could just do that. But they're going to focus on taking other parts. You maybe not want to play around topside, because part of the problem with going for that style is, can your players actually follow through on that? And someone like Kumo has proven for the past few years he can be a stud in the top lane, but when it comes to tanky kind of champions, when it comes to team fighting, when it comes to helping your team out, teleports and surviving lane and getting past it, it's not really the hard camp my lane, I'm gonna snowball, I'm gonna carry, like give me the high mechanically intensive champions and let me pop off. So this is why that flexibility is valuable right now with so many different champions available. Well, if you can actually pull this off when the enemy presents the opportunity for it, then you can start to get a lot of advantages. The Gangplank ban, seen as the kind of Kumo champion that would have been an answer to the Gnar, is being targeted. And so Dignitas just trying to set up Lorlo for success here and not even respecting, at least thus far, the possibility of a Renekton.
I was going to say, it's still currently on the table. We'll see what that last ban is here, and it is on the table. Camille is the final top lane ban, so still focused on Kumo, still trying to get Lorlo into a more comfortable matchup, but the Renekton is very, very powerful right now. We'll see if FlyQuest want to lock that in, because they don't want to show their mid laner quite yet. They have the opportunity to counter pick both of their solo lanes here, so regardless of what they go for, we're expecting this top laner to be locked in right now. But the bans for FlyQuest Academy do make a lot of sense to me. Again, Thresh, Leona trying to take things away.
There it is. That's what we needed to see. Okay. They could have saved themselves some time and maybe had the opportunity to counter their supports as well if they took the Renekton in the third pick instead of fourth, but they haven't now. They actually have a really strong point in the map to play through. I need to see if Kumo and NXI can execute this, because it all depends on stacking those waves, tower diving, and rinse and repeating.
You know, Kumo was like, hey guys, Ornn looks pretty good here, right? They're like, no, Renekton. And he goes all the way to the fourth pick, but they do finally lock it in. So good job, FlyQuest Academy, bringing the composition back together. But here we go, Dignitas Academy actually going for a more popular pick that's been coming up, the Lucian mid lane here. This is a blind pick Lucian mid, and then they pair it with a Maokai support. So I'm not in love with the blind Lucian. I just don't feel like that's going to be the play at the end of the day.
There's a lot of champions that Triple can play that can have a good time here, especially something like a Victor, right? Just survive a little bit in the early and then you're totally fine. There's plenty of picks like it. Syndra could survive into the Lucian as well. So taking the teleport for both lanes will just be a bit of a farm fest. I think Dignitas is just okay with going with a marksman, not so much for the laning phase, but because it gives him a lot of range with this composition. The top four are just so long range that, combined with a Maokai that can use a long range ultimate to engage, I think they're going for just long range picks and really trying to kite away from what FlyQuest is trying to do, because they've got a lot of tools to jump somebody and immediately stop whatever range you're trying to keep from your enemies.
And between the Maokai saplings and the Jin traps, it's going to be difficult for Diamond to actually find the engages if he's just running at them. I still like FlyQuest Academy's composition a little bit more, though, because Dignitas' Academy, it's all going to be reliant on, can they land to their range? Can they actually pull off these Nidalee Spears, followed up with the Jin Deadly Flourish? Because FlyQuest Academy just seems a little easier to pull off, but we're ready to hop on into the game for Summoner's Rift. Week 1, Day 2 of LCS Academy. Game 2, FlyQuest Academy versus Dignitas Academy. Let's get on into it, Crumbs. Here we see a 5-point start from both teams. And so far, we have not seen a lot of early game invades in pretty much any region right now. So Academy not going to be bucking that trend just yet.
Yeah, usually the invade is just like what we saw in game 1, right? The little cheeky attempt, see if you can take a buff and do something like that. We haven't gotten into the shenanigan territory quite just yet, but we might here. They'll just trade some damage and try to boost their end game graphs.
That was like a 0.5 shenanigans right there. Diamond just, he wanted to feel like he was participating at some points. He's like, I'm just going to walk around. Maybe look for the headbutt onto Yasui early on, but does not pull it off there. So Yeah, again, Crumbs, at this point of the game, I always like to just take a look at what the team compositions are holistically and what we expect them to be doing as a focus earlier on into the game. This Lucian just keeps confusing me as to why it was blind picked, and the Victor lock-in, what is Lucian going to even be able to do against this pick?
So the Lucian is supposed to be a pressure point in the mid lane. He's supposed to be able to shove and rotate over to help out Nidalee. So it's about helping Acadian do whatever he wants in the jungle. But against Talia, not really the easiest champion to really catch out and just kill. So the Victor is just a wave clear bot that will out team fight and out wave clear him once the laning phase is already over, like post 6. So I don't think the Lucian is the pick either here, because normally you want to pair it with more tankiness or more crowd control. All it does is it increases the difficulty of execution for Dignitas. So if Yasui can pull it off, then okay, great. And he usually is the player to pull off these new kinds of champions. It's just you now really want JJ to get a good laning phase, not fall behind, and be able to reliably crowd control members. Because no matter how fed Yasui gets, there's not a lot of people that can actually set up the enemy in front of him so that he can hit them. And that's going to be the problem with the Lucian mid.
And you also are still fairly squishy yourself with things like Alistair Renekton that can just jump on you at any time that you're a little too close. He does have some range to play around with that ultimate, but his auto attack range will put him in danger of Alistair going in or the Kumo flash stun. So we'll have to keep track of that, but so far the junglers just starting on opposite sides, walking around, going for these deeper clears. Interesting thing to note from what JJ did on the bottom side there, I don't know if you noticed in level 1, he actually fake leashed for his jungler by throwing saplings down into the tri-bush, hoping to catch out Tomo and Diamond as they're rotating down, but Tomo and Diamond weren't actually started on the bot side with the leash, so they avoided it. But I gotta remember that for my solo queue games, because that seems like a really cheesy play that no one's gonna expect.
It's the classic, you spend mana in a way that seems like you leashed, maybe hit yourself a little bit on some camp, and on the Maokai you don't have to hit yourself, but this is a good way to fool them. But now they should know that because NXI is in the bottom side and the Gnar is being so aggressive in the top side that Nidalee started bottom and routed top. So little roam look into the mid lane. We'll just get the Lucian into the Fog of War from the left-hand side. And what I want to see after this base now, Kangas, is someone, for the love of God, camp this Gnar. Renekton and Talia should obliterate this Gnar. And if they can focus him and start crashing the wave, all you do is you wait for him to be mini, you stun him, you seismic shove him, and then he dies. You can one-shot him in mini form.
NXI is pathing up there right now, so we might see your wish come to fruition here, Crumbs. Yeah, not even going for those Krugs, just running straight into the lane. And as I say that, might veer off to the Krugs. Okay, never mind. He's going for the Krugs, but still in the neighborhood, looking for the potential gank up there as Lorlo now has a slight freeze on his side of the lane, trying to play safe, trying to play defensive against Kumo, but it might just bounce back. So NXI, will he be able to pull off this first gank? Because Acadian's nowhere nearby. The Nidalee is just on the bottom half of the map, farming. Just
power
trying
clearing.
to scale up.
Yeah, she's just very happy going through the same rotation, whereas Talia hasn't really done that. She is starting into the top side. That was the rotation that she had gone, pathing top to bottom, but she needed to be here to make sure that Kumo could crash the wave. And you see how low the Gnar is, right? So you think, well, if she went to Raptors, could you go for a full clear? Or if you went to top side and stuck around, looped into the blue side, try to tower dive, could you find an opportunity to kill the Gnar and maybe have nobody else answer, or maybe even kill the Gnar and deal with the Nidalee if she shows up afterwards? So they're going to just continue to play a passive and look to focus on objectives instead of the laning phase for now.
Well, Nidalee did show up on the top side, but Kumo was able to threaten Lorlo's health bar enough that they couldn't actually find the play. Looks like Kumo did use Flash during that, as Lorlo will now be forced to back here. So, yeah, Acadian paying some attention topside, because you mentioned the Renekton Talia split damage 80 AP. Well, yeah, you got the same thing with the Gnar and the Nidalee. So theoretically, if they can catch Kumo at the right time, they should also be able to do a good chunk of damage and hopefully kill him pre-level 6 here. But now we see Acadian hanging around the mid side. Yasui is level 6, so is Triple. But Diamond has roamed up from the bottom half of the map as Dragon Prio is over to FlyQuest Academy.
So they know that the support has roamed as well, but this is just way too early right now with so much action happening. Oh, just misses the shove.
Looking for the fight instead of the objective secured, but this might be bad for Diamond as he's taking a lot of damage. A flash from JJ, a root follow-up, first blood to Acadian, and Dignitas Academy pull the trigger.
That is a split call out of FlyQuest. You see that multiple plays are being made at the same time, and that is not working as a team. Alistar was going into the mid lane to relieve pressure from Triple, maybe looking for a gank, while NXI and Tomo were going for the Dragon. They pulled off and then remained on Dragon while they looked for a fight, which was how Dignitas had such an easy time collapsing. They commit all their resources to the fight, then to the Dragon, and they get both.
Pickup after pickup for Dignitas Academy finds themselves with that Dragon lead along with 1,000 gold lead. Curtain call pulled on the bottom side. As, you know, Diamond should just be able to tank up all of these shots, not taking too much damage here. But this has just been a shove continually the entire game here from Dignitas Academy. Always pressuring the bottom half of the map and just getting spawn. This shove in onto Tomo means that, yeah, hit level 6 first. They might even get a turret plate here, but doesn't look like at the end of the day they will end up getting that.
Poor Alistar, just not a very good champion when it comes to the laning phase without kill pressure, so he's just stuck there under the turret, and so is Tomo. And it's weird because now you have a bot lane that's been constantly pushing, a top lane that has been constantly pushing, and still we haven't found an opportunity for NXI to gank this anywhere. And it's tricky because normally when you're having the lanes that are possible to gank, top and bottom, be far away, you really cannot bounce between the two. You end up having to pick one. And bottom lane, now that it's going to be a Maokai level 6, really doesn't seem like a viable idea. We're going to take a look at this initial skirmish in the mid lane. This is the replay. Nidalee and Lucian crashing the wave. Nice little call. Oh.
Ooh.
And then let's see if the shove could have actually landed. Because Diamond did not have to go in here, right? NXI did not have to follow through. They were just thinking, oh, we could do it if possible. And then JJ showed up because they knew that the only reason why Alistar was able to be there was because he had a few seconds of time over the Maokai. So every play that was being made by the players there should have been made with a timer in the back of their heads. Hey, Maokai is going to collapse on one of us eventually, right? He's coming, he's making it out from the base. You need to go for the play immediately, or if you don't, you just back off. And they did not back off, so the quick flash W is the death wish of this support. The death wish of Maokai right now is pretty nuts. That flash W is one of the greater abilities for tower diving. It's kind of like the old.
It's just impossible to dodge. You can't get away from it, man. It follows you wherever you go. We saw him flash over the wall. He went forward as well. JJ just continually tracking them down, and now close to level 6, like you were saying before, could look for another engage here on the bottom half if they want to, because Acadian's walking down here as well right as NXI is leaving. Tomo does respect this. Pretty low on mana, will decide to back off here. So we haven't seen a lot of action in terms of early game ganks, but both teams, I feel like, again, anytime you're in a situation like this where no one's really putting pedal to the metal, it's the team that will have the scaling that will feel better about it, as Triple takes a huge chunk of damage. He actually prevents Yasui from finishing that. Well used. Trades it right back with those ultimates. But again, when we look at scaling options for each of these teams, I'm really favoring FlyQuest Academy right now with the Victor, with the Kaisa. So if they can keep this game relatively slow and under control, they're in a really good spot.
I think so too. Victor late game is really nutty, but they haven't been making many plays. It really feels like Dignitas has been controlling
the trouble. Tomo jumps in, gets the assassination onto Acadian. That's the kind of plays that we want to see from this Kaisa. Tomo getting extra gold in her pocket means that now this Kaisa will come online that much quicker.
And that's just not respecting these ADs, because the new wave of ADs are just something else, right? Their ability to instantly jump and collapse on somebody is just unreal. With Samira or a Kaisa. So he should be fine. Just going to use the JJ ultimate to deter them from continuing to chase. And now NXI and Diamond get to group up and see if they can pull off something in the red side jungle together.
You'll have to see junglers and supports grouping up together. There's just the Raptors to take currently, but This is what we see with the replay of Acadian. He thinks he has the Raptors, but FlyQuest has the answer.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the state and you think, well, he has his jungler very close, his waves are shoved in, he's thinking, I could probably do this. And just did not expect that Tomo was going to be pathing to mid lane from bottom before going down to the bottom lane. It's something that was a preliminary lesson in supports, is that, all right, once you get your first recalls, instead of recalling straight to the bottom lane, go mid lane and then roam bottom. Well, other roles can do that too, especially if they have tools that can actually be useful in a fight, like a Jhin, an Ashe, a Kai'Sa. So roaming to the mid lane as an AD pays off.
Yeah. And this is how FlyQuest kind of played their game yesterday as well. If we look back, they didn't have this explosive early game. They didn't go for these crazy early plays. It was mostly reactive plays and just scaling up, letting Tomo get to these item power spikes. And right now, even Triple also doing just fine in the mid lane. The big thing is NXI not really having the big performance on Taliyah that I was expecting, known for having very quick clear on this current patch, but still behind Acadian by a decent chunk here. Ooh, also gets chunked, and will probably need to back and reset. So even further behind, his Dragon should be secured now by Dignitas Academy.
They have the control, but FlyQuest is poised as if they're looking for a fight here. That's a big spear that hits, and
Yasui's got the inside track from mid lane. Triple can't quite get in there, but FlyQuest Academy, they're taking so much damage, but so is Acadian from Dragon. Victor ultimate goes down. JJ could be in some trouble as well. A lot of poke, electrocute Victor, will chunk him out, and now suddenly it's FlyQuest Academy that are actually back on the Dragon. Who's going to get this crumbs? It is really hard to tell right now. Jhin ultimate opens up, curtain call is used. Diamond just tanking it all up, and Dragon will be secured here by Dignitas Academy, but a teleport onto the backline. It's Kumo coming in. FlyQuest Academy, can they find the fight? Can they find the re-engage? No, it's just Kumo all alone. Weaver's Wall goes in. He flashes, exhausted onto the carry. No, it's actually JJ. It's just the Maokai. Tomo will at least get that kill. NXI almost goes down for Kumo, will certainly fall. And Dignitas Academy will continue the chase. Triple has to flash to safety. Diamond retreating. Everybody retreating. Dignitas Academy get the Dragon and also win the fight.
And that is the first time we actually see the Renekton and the Gnar join into the fight, and they were both so hypey, just trying to do as much as possible with their flash stuns, but that was just a big mess. This TP could fail, it just gets to make it, but at what price? Because this turret has already gone down, really didn't do a whole lot. Kai'Sa could have picked that up, and you could have saved it. So we're going to look at it after it reset. You've got the ultimates all being used, and then the teleports begin to happen, because Narc just crashed the wave. Renekton is here as well. They've got the wards, and Renekton goes in much further, but notice how far away the rest of FlyQuest is. They're not in a position to follow up. NXI was clearing a control ward. Diamond is just stumbling around. He barely has any health. So by the time Renekton collapses, nobody else feels confident enough to collapse. So Dignitas is like, hey, we can do this. We're very healthy because we have a Nidalee, we've got a Moonstone Renewer that's been keeping everybody healthy, the Maokai, who has just been autoing constantly to keep his health up, and that made a big difference there because both teams kind of blundered in the aggro of the Dragon.
I also think NXI needed to use that Weaver's Wall a little bit. It felt like there were multiple moments where he could have split up Dignitas Academy, they could have focused the Dragon and just secured the objective and gotten out. But instead, they try and use it aggressively just to get NXI a little closer, go in for the kills. But yeah, did not work out. Now a 2,000 gold lead here for Dignitas Academy with the double Dragons picked up, stacking those on their way to the Dragon Soul. But FlyQuest Academy at least have the inside track here for this Rift Herald. They will get their vision down. They might be able to secure this one for themselves because it doesn't look like anybody from Dignitas Academy are actually here to contest it. They're looking for a potential kill onto Triple, who is wisely playing very far back on his turret.
You don't need to test the Herald if you're already hammering away at a turret, and I think that's what Dignitas recognizes. You got the Lucian crashing the wave, and while there are no plays to take, they're still getting the objective, which is what Herald would have done anyways. So they're totally okay with trading this, right? Already getting the turret, getting solo experience here, not needing to group up your teammates. And not needing to group up your solo lanes helps a ton in maintaining that experience lead that they currently have and CS lead over their counterparts. So I like that they don't see this objective as a must-have since they're already getting what they need on the map.
It's always the argument of Rift Herald is potential turrets, whereas a turret is a turret. So you'll take that turret rather than the Rift Herald. Unless FlyQuest can turn this into 2, that would be the only advantage they have. Kumo looking for the stun, does find it. NXI and has to land this seismic shove.
Man.
Not going to go for
16 minutes. It took 16 minutes to go to this lane.
It's a long time.
It's too late.
You were a patient man, Crumbs. Was it worth it? Was it everything you expected it to be?
It was not. You saw it was so close, right? If they just did it a little bit earlier, I mean, you can still pop him, but it's just not getting you turret. It's not getting you plates. It's not denying the Gnar. It's just something you can do now. So maybe next time around.
NXI just got bored. He was like, let's just go check out topside, see what goes on over here. It has the Rift Herald though, so can look for plays elsewhere on the map at this point. And while we're definitely out of laning phase, there's really no more, oh yeah, everyone's got their own turret plates and their own gold that they can earn from those, but the Rift Herald is still useful, especially if you're able to find a pick or win a team fight even. You can also drop it just to distract for this next dragon that's coming up in 45 seconds. So FlyQuest, they have options for what they want to use this objective for.
Well, they've got the Renekton coming down as well, and so he's a good option to have, whose flash will be coming up for this dragon fight. That's going to be a really big cooldown there if they can chain these flash DCs and just pop these very mobile carries.
Okay, I guess they dropped the Rift Herald early. Dragon's still got 20 seconds to spawn, so the best they get out of this use is just the ability to rotate to Dragon quickly, but NXI gets chunked out right there. Now Dignitas can chase them down. FlyQuest Academy go for the engage, flash ult, or flash headbutt combo from Diamond, but just no follow-up from the team. Look at the range of Dignitas play with. They can just kite back in. Lorla flashing the wall, gets onto Tomo, can't quite assassinate him by himself, but with JJ there, they might just kill the AD carry. No flash used by Tomo. FlyQuest Academy are out of there, and Dignitas Academy have full control of this dragon.
It's so hard for them to get into a position to engage comfortably because they're never on equal footing. They're either getting poked by Nidalee, they're getting poked by Lucian or Jhin, even the Maokai sapling, so that by the time they're engaging, they're hobbling, they're practically crippled, and just walking forward can barely make it. So look at this, the NXI is so low, they're running away from the Maokai sapling, so he's not there to combo as soon as Alistar goes in. That was the problem. They couldn't flip the Nidalee back, so everybody gets blown right away, and it's just so easy for the rest of Dignitas to follow through. Just a little bit more AP would have one-shot or would kill triple there from that spear, but they get even more summoners as well, because a big deal of that was that the Alistar had to burn flash for that engage. That was his biggest tool. He won't have that for that next fight, and that next fight is Ocean Soul.
That next fight is going to be a big deal, maybe just a win condition here for Dignitas Academy if they can secure it. And the big thing, is just no one can follow up on that kind of engage from Diamond, especially with JJ's Maokai ultimate. So Dignitas Academy playing that fight beautifully. Now they find themselves on that soul point as they reposition their bottom lane to the mid lane, catching these waves as they crash in, and reassign their top laner to the bottom side, mid laner to the top side. So just going for the lane play. I'm fine with this from Dignitas. There's really nothing to push for right now on the map. You can just catch waves and then catch FlyQuest Academy in their mispositionings instead of making these big proactive plays, because it's on FlyQuest to really be the ones that make the next action happen, as they do find actually Acadian here over the wall. Acadian it just says, okay, NXI, I'll try and 1v1 you, I suppose, but it's not a fair fight, and he will go down. That's the pick the FlyQuest Academy desperately needed, and there's no response from Dignitas Academy.
There is a Lucian in the top lane that is hammering away at a turret, though. He was able to crash that wave. He's taking control of the Krugs. Not going for the tier 2 at the moment because Dignitas knows that FlyQuest is basing, but they are getting gold on these solo laners, and the CS leads are starting to pile up, right? That's already 35 CS of Yasui over triple. That's a big deal with that bounty onto him, so...
And
there was a cost to FlyQuest doing that because they had so many members, right? They sent everybody there.
They sent a lot. And I'm just realizing right now, Crumbs, the difference in build between NXI and Acadian here. NXI only just completed his first mythic item right there, so has not been in a powerful position this whole time, but we'll get a look at this replay before I finish that point here. Acadian, it just goes a little too far forward, and we'll get picked off.
He couldn't see Diamond, if anybody's wondering. There, you can that little ridge with those trees was actually hiding him, so that's why he walked up. And
Looked a
nobody
little silly,
actually
but...
walks. He didn't actually. He was like, "Oh, there's an Alistar here. I'm gonna walk with the Tech Slash."
Acadian's just that confident of a player. He's like, it doesn't matter if there's an Alistar. I got Staff of Flowing Water. We're fine. We're fine. But that's the point that I wanted to make about Acadian's build. Already 2 items completed, so much further ahead in just impact in the game currently, and that's what Dignitas Academy's composition wants to do. Win early, win fast here, as opposed to FlyQuest Academy where they have these scaling options and need to find a way to slow this game down because they're 5,000 in the hole. On Soul Point already, or rather Dignitas Academy's on Soul Point, so FlyQuest Academy needs to worry about that. And I'm not seeing the coordination from the team so far. Tomo's really the only saving grace for them currently, so outside of a Kaisa pop-off play, it's looking pretty grim.
It is, unfortunately, and that's because the timing for when they could be making these pop-off plays has passed. The timing was in the laning phase. It was in the top side. Now, that play that you make is really just the Alistar going for those Hex Flashes and the Kaisa, like you said. We already saw once, got a bit of a feel for it when Tomo jumped Acadian alongside NXI and they got that kill of what they can do. It's just that Dignitas is now playing group. They're no longer in a position where single members are going off by themselves that you can pick off and expect nothing else to happen. They are now roaming around as a unit, and so Tomo can't just fly into somebody. He needs to have somebody else to help him out. So if Diamond and Tomo can team up with another member, I think that's the combo that they should be looking to use to find a pick, because they're still very squishy members that can be one-shot.
Looks like FlyQuest Academy aren't looking for that right now, though. They understand Dragon will be spawning here in 30 seconds, but that is a completely dark river. They only have 2 control wards, fairly shallow in their jungle, and now actually one of them was just dropped in lane, I believe, there, or just removed for somewhere else on the map. It's gone. It's in top Tribush now. But we see the all control of Dragon belongs to the side of Dignitas currently.
That's the teleport, but Renekton is not going for a flank. He's just joining the team. That's double TPs, actually. So this is a weird position there because they know that Diamond is around. He's the only member that's flanking. They saw both TPs coming from the same area. There they go.
Yeah, they engage. JJ's the target. He's pretty squishy, actually. Does take a lot of damage. It's answered right back. Lorlo with the ultimate. Meganar teleports in. Triple finds himself alone against 4 while Lorlo distracts the rest of FlyQuest Academy. And now it's just Kumo and NXI desperately trying to get out of this rough position. And they got nowhere to go. Kumo back into the Dragon Pit. JJ is the wall. The tree to say you can't pass. And Dignitas Academy will claim that ace. A clean ace, 0 for 5 with Dragon Soul Crumbs. This is what breaks the camel's back.
Yeah, pack it up, boys. GG, go next. You just lost Soul, Ace, and Baron in a single play. You really could not have a larger play than just losing the game flat out. So this is a ginormous swing out of Dignitas. And if I'm not mistaken how that started, they looked to engage onto the Maokai. Not ideal.
Yeah, Maokai with Aftershock, mind you. So he was tanky. They almost got him. I was surprised. I was like, all right, he's dying a little faster than I expected, but he didn't die fast enough. So, yeah, when you use all those abilities on one member who's the tanky support of everybody, that ain't the person with 2 items completed, which the rest of the team did save Lorlo at that moment, but now has completed Dead Man's Plate. Dignitas Academy, this is what we expected yesterday, and what we saw yesterday was them throw by over-diving. I'm really hoping that they don't make the same mistake here at Crumbs, because they have an insane lead. There's just no way that they lose this, right? I know I just cursed them by saying that, but there's just no way.
Well, the good news is that this is not a combat tower dive, so I don't think they're actually going to go for that. The ideal dive
I don't know if that's going to stop them, man.
Like, maybe Maokai and Nar would die, maybe even the Nidalee and the Lucian, but there is no way Spawn gets in the mix in this. And the ADs know that
Gale Force.
They
When
don't
there's a
need to
will,
be the
there's a
ones.
way.
Hey, if they pull it off, though, I'm all for it, though, because it's not something that you want to deter out of Dignitas, diving, and, oh, you had Baron, you made a dive, and you lost the game. It's like, well, how about executing better? Because a lot of times when you do have Baron, going for a tower dive can be a way to end the game. And here's Diamond getting caught out in the bottom lane. That's going to be a big pick. I mean, Diamond
Yeah.
by himself doesn't do a lot for his team, but he's the only way the team has getting any chance of starting a fight. So that puts FlyQuest entirely on the back foot.
Now maybe it's Kumo and Tomo finding something on Lorlo here, but they're just leaving Triple alone on the bottom side. NXI maybe looking for a Weaver's Wall play mid. They just lose Triple. A lot of stuff happening on the bottom half of the map right now as the turret's falling down. Inhibitor will fall shortly as well. We'll watch Lorlo just say, hey, guys, hey, dude, thanks for carrying me. This is the Lorlo cam stream, though. All right, here we go. Now we find Dignitas Academy in the base of FlyQuest Academy.
Okay.
Rushing through with these Baron minions. This might just be game here. Triple's down. That's most of their wave clear.
Yeah,
Falls,
I think it
Kumo
is.
in trouble. Diamond and NXI on the flank. They're looking for something desperate for any kind of engage, but the turrets are down already. Tomo almost falls as well. Kumo still under turret. They're just, I don't even know what FlyQuest Academy is attempting right now. They're looking for the desperation play almost onto Yasui, but they don't find it. Tomo will fall, and there's just nothing to be done in that moment. Dignitas Academy are too strong, too far ahead, and they will take down the final Nexus turrets and give Triple yet another kill, living up to the name with the 3 deaths, and Dignitas Academy will win their game 2.
Nice and easy, 15-3. Ocean so barren. It almost was a perfect game there out of Dignitas. They knew where their strengths were. It's like, okay, yeah, keep playing with the Nidalee, keep playing with the bot, but it really felt like so many of the fights where Dignitas made a mistake. Sorry, FlyQuest made a mistake, and Dignitas doubled that mistake from their own recognition of it, right? You saw, oh, they're overextended, take everything, and they did that a few times and won easily because of it.
Yeah, Dignitas Academy played their composition very well. I was very impressed with what they actually managed to do, because I didn't like that composition that much. There was a lot of range they were playing with, sure, but it just felt like if the game goes late, which their last game did, FlyQuest Academy have all these tools to just win these team fights straight up. But no, it actually turned into them just not really engaging, not really forcing anything. They just utilized that range, let Diamond engage onto them, throw out that Maokai ult, and then just blow up the Alistair and then start transitioning to the other members. And it's good to see teams coming in this early in the season executing their compositions to that level. There were definitely mistakes that still happened here or there. I'm looking at Acadian getting, I guess he still couldn't see the Alistair, but Diamond getting that flash on him engage. But overall, that was a fairly clean game from Dignitas Academy.
It was. It really was. Now, what happens when FlyQuest camps top? What happens when FlyQuest utilizes a game plan that's built into the champions and develops a Renekton that's a complete menace? I think that would be the change that would make Dignitas's easy win a little bit harder, because I think they should have anticipated that there was going to be some action in that lane. There wasn't, and I think they got lucky because of it.
Yeah, when we look at NXI's playstyle in particular and how he developed an amateur on 100 Thieves Next, it oftentimes wasn't NXI playing to laners and getting them ahead. It was laners having priority and playing to him. And going for these invades, fighting the enemy jungler, skirmishing. And we just didn't see any of that in this game, and there really wasn't an opportunity for that to happen given the drafts. Victor's not going to get the hard shove against Lucian early on because he's got mana issues and needs a little bit of time to scale before he can really help out in that department. Bot lane was always shoved in. His top lane, he didn't go for those early plays because NXI isn't the type of player that looks for those. And also, we highlighted Kumo, not the type of player to really take full advantage of a Renekton. So there were areas where I think FlyQuest Academy had great draft and had great opportunities, but they just didn't play to their players' strengths at the end of the day.
And that's so much of what League is, where you see the pie in the sky of like, what would the perfect player, the perfect team be able to do, right? Take advantage of every circumstance. But the reality is that no team is that. No team actually has the tools to use every single style and champion available. So you have to make do with what you've got. And if that style is not what suits them, if it's going with NXI in a different way, then they should not have picked Renekton, right? They should have gone with the Ornn.
Exactly. That was on the table, and we know Kumo plays it. But with that being said, congratulations to Dignitas Academy picking up their first win of the season, now ending 1-1 in their first week. We're going to send it over to a short break while we get ready for an interview before going into game number 3. So don't go anywhere. Hello and welcome back, everybody, for more games of LCS Academy here in week number 1. We got up next TSM versus EG Academy, but first we're going to recap a little bit of what happened in that last game. Take a look at some of the highlights and some of the flashy plays, because there were quite a few of them, Crumbs. It was a slow ramp up. The first couple of minutes, first 10 minutes were a little slow, but boy, did we hit a stride around this mark.
When we started to get more people involved is when the fights really got messy, especially with Diamond and JJ getting to the mix. Maokai support proving to be a really good champion right now in the current meta. I want to see more and more teams pick him up, but this was a big fight. That was a big turning point. I think the game might have just ended from... No, this was not the one. This was close to it, though, because it was another 5v5 where Diamond wants to engage as soon as the spear goes on NXI, but look at that. Yeah. Normally, you want to have the seismic shove connect as soon as Nidalee is in the air, but she got to land, got to flash out, and so the re-engage from Dignitas was just spot on after it.
Triple never even threw down his ultimate there. That's like, man, I understand that your range, you're so far back, you want to use that for a big wombo combo, but this was one of the plays that FlyQuest Academy were able to find. They were just so few and far between that they never found a way back into the game.
And it was just a misplay out of their composition. They should have been in a position where they can actually go for very strong flanks with Renekton and the Taliyah. But because they never played to each other to the top side of the map, they were never strong enough. And now this was a fight where Diamond engages right at the end with the Kai'Sa ultimate, but they go into the Maokai with Aftershock, the tankiest member on the team. And by the time that the Nard teleports in, he's already mega. They're right up against the wall. It was just such a wipe out of them. And Dignitas just had a really good idea of what FlyQuest was trying to do. Too much of it was relying on Diamond. Mark Diamond, Mark, you win the fight.
I honestly think that last pick onto Acadian, I think that was the last kill that FlyQuest Academy got the entire game. There were multiple members from Dignitas that did not die this entire game, and that's just impressive. And we actually do have one of those players who did not die as an interview. We got Spawn coming in here, one of the newer faces in LCS Academy. So Spawn, how's it going? How are you feeling after that win?
I'm feeling really good. It's good to finally get a win, so pumped.
Yeah, and so Dignitas Academy is an interesting team because I'm seeing a lot of names that I've seen in Academy and LCS for a long time. And then we see Spawn. You were drafted in the scouting grounds and now brought in, originally you were drafted by Team Liquid, but now on Dignitas Academy. So what's it like playing with all these veteran voices that have been around the scene for so long?
I mean, it's really awesome. I get to learn a lot and, kind of learn the ropes. They help me a lot with the game plan. They're just strong voices on the team, so I do my best to stay to their par.
Now, there's a lot of players that might be not familiar with your face. How would you describe yourself as a player and your play style? Are you a meta slave? Do you like to play a specific kind of champion? Is there a player that you look up to that you want to try to emulate?
For me, I usually play meta, but I always have pocket picks ready for the meta champs. Try to get an advantage. But mostly I look up to Doublelift, as he's been so good for so long and he's just always consistent. So I want to be like that.
That's a great role model for AD. It's the best one we've ever had.
Good aspirations to aim towards. So there's been a general question around the scene, especially this split with the recent change, Oceanic players being able to come here to North America. And I know my caster friends yesterday were talking about this a lot, so I want to weigh in on your thoughts. Who do you think is really going to dominate Academy this year? Is it going to be all the LCS veterans? Is it going to be the OPL veterans? Or is it going to be the new blood, the young talent coming up, showing us how to replay League of Legends?
I'm not sure. I mean, still first week, we'll see, but I think, Dignitas Academy will dominate. So that's what I'm going with.
See, it's great for you, because then even if you all win, you're around all these veterans, you get to say, but it was me. It was me, the new face, the young blood. So you're in a good position. I like it. You're hedging your bets. Well, thank you so much, Spot. I appreciate your time. Congratulations on picking up the win. And yeah, best of luck going into next week.
Thank you.
We're going to send it over to a short break now while we get ready for game number 3, so don't go anywhere.